Good afternoon and welcome to the program Meet the Discourse right here on Global TV, coming away live from Nigeria's capital city. On today's edition of the program, we will be looking at the gap between policies of government and the end users, talking about the citizen. How much are you aware of these policies and how far have these policies been well implemented and what are the benefits? Are there people truly informed about the policies? A well-informed society will be a better nation. To help me have answers to the gap between governmental organizations' policies and the citizens, I have with me in the studio Mr. Sylvester. Of course, Sylvester Mandi Ezon is with me. He is the managing director of the organization. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
How's it been?
So far, so good.
All right, so we'll be looking at how to break the gap between policies of government and how truly can the citizen benefit if they are well informed. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will continue the program Meet the Discourse right here on Global TV. My name is Clinton Agbo, welcoming you on board. Please don't go away. Glad to have you back on the program Meet the Discourse right on Global TV, coming away live from Nigeria's capital city. Parker Africa aim at addressing governmental organization policies program communication challenges within the sub-region by bridging the information gap of policies program between the governmental organizations and community society in areas such as human capital development, trade, agriculture, health and transportation, of course, environmental, employment, immigration, education, peace and security, among others. A long list of some of these policies that truly are meant for the citizen. But how much do they know? Let's go straight and meet my guest who is already seated here with me. Mr. Sylvester is in the studio. Now, Sylvester, your organization is championing the gap, championing to break the gap between policies of government. Now, tell us the benefits if this gap is no longer there.
Okay. It is important to know that every government, every nation that has developed today have what we call citizens' benefit. Now, in that regard, one of the key components of implementing government policy is by creating awareness of the people. The people need to know, need to understand that this is what the policy is up to, this is what the policy will address, and this is how they will benefit from those policies. So, in a situation where government prepare policy, well written, excellently documented, and then they put them in the shelves and their tables, without bridging that gap, is what is leading us to the situation where we are today. So it is our belief and our responsibility as an organization. We have seen a vacuum, and we thought it necessary that it is important that the people are carried along with what governments are doing by creating that information gap, impacting the knowledge of what the policy are addressing, so that they can be patient and understand that these are the times and this is the processes. But without doing that, they have been neglected for a very long time. Without carrying out this information, it is what is bringing this chaos, this unacceptable, regulations and policies of government. You take a policy to people, they will reject it even before it's been implemented. These are the cause of the problem. But if you inform them, they're already aware. They will receive it, they will own it, and that will bring about development.
So what methods are you doing to bring these policies and the people together to have a first-hand information of some of these informations?
So what we do, we have our thematic areas. One of the most key components of what we address is the research component. It is important to be able to carry out research on certain areas of policy, especially those people-centered policies. So once you do the research, you do our analysis, and then break into classes of society. You know, we have communications in different strata. Some understands English, some understand Yoruba, some understand different languages and at different level. So what we do, we break this policy in those languages and begin to communicate through the use of media. We begin to communicate through community engagement. We begin to communicate through traditional rulers. We begin to communicate in terms of sensitization. Some will carry out rigorous awareness creation, go into the street, distribute flyers, letting the people know that this is what it takes, this is what the government are trying to do, and this is the responsibility of the part of the citizens what to contribute and see that this thing is successful. So those are some of the methods we adopt in our approach in implementing our project. So basically, we analyze, we create a stratification of this particular policy based on the category of the society, and then disseminate them through the use of media, community engagement, sensitization, advocacy, workshops, among others.
So you think Nigerians are not well informed with government policies?
It is crystal clear that we are not well informed.
Are the policies there for the citizens?
There are a lot of policies already, formulated.
So who should be blamed?
The government should take blame because they have not made any effort of communicating these policies. In some society, whenever the policy is being enacted, in fact, South Africa, for example, there's a committee that goes around and educate people that this is what the government intends to do. And then once that information is already out there before the policy is rolled out, it creates acceptance, it creates sense of belongingness. They want to know, they believe that yes, it is important that our government is trying to do the right thing. But if you don't create that gap, if you don't bridge that gap, they won't own it. And once you don't own it, you can't control it. And once you cannot control it, it's completely out of your hands.
Now, you talked about policies of government policies and identify a gap between the policies that are made by government, which are supposed to impact the society, and when they are not well informed, they cannot fully participate in this. Let's have a typical example of what you are talking. Do you think Nigerian politicians have been able to take this to the grassroots and see how we can truly follow the political processes?
You know, one thing we need to understand first is the process of policies. Once you understand the process of policy, you will now know who to hold responsible in terms of policies communication. Now, government formulating policy, there's a policy statement at the level of the executives that this is what we want to do. There's a legal backing that the National Assembly are supposed to give to those policies. And there's a component of implementation. So the approach we'll be using is a linear approach of policy implementation, of policy formulation, of policy evaluation. So, which is formulate, implement, evaluate. Now, other society have adopted a different mechanism, which is this, the circle format. Meaning, in the middle of this process, formulation, implementation, and evaluation, there's a component of monitoring. There's a component of operations. So in the course of implementing the policy, they already foresee what will happen in the future because they need to communicate with the people, bring them together, and then see how these policies are to be implemented. Because if the people are not aware, by the time you take this policy to them, they will reject it. And once it's rejected, the essence of the policy is being defeated.
Of course, my guest this beautiful afternoon in Nigeria's capital city. He is from the Policy Aids and Citizen Advice Africa, an organization responsible to break the gap between government policies and, of course, the citizen. The Chief Executive Director, Mr. Sylvester Nandi Esom, is my guest on the program. Now, how has your organization been achieving this? Are you already in the street making sure that this gap, if yes, how far are you close to some of these policies?
Yes. So we've already started implementation at our level. Now, what we discover in the process is that there are some policies you want to implement, but you need the consent of the government to be able to carry out this exercise. So we try to identify this area, these specific policies. We try to work with the organizations that are responsible in the implementation of those policies and see how we can harness, because we always tell them, we are not here to fight you. We are here to complement the effort which you are making and to let the people know that they are not just sitting here according to what the people are saying, that the government are just sitting there sharing money to themselves, sharing contract and all of that. So we need to work together to be able to take this information out there. So in the interim, we've been working closely with some organizations. We've been working with some other groups, social groups. You know, we've been visiting different locations. We've been analyzing policies. We are working with institutions, including academia, you know, to see that we are not working alone. For example, the component of analyzing policy and policy research, we work together with the University of Abuja, the Political Science Department, to see that what we are doing is in line with what it's supposed to be. So once we analyze that, we'll now take it from there to be able to disseminate the information. So we've been working, though in a very micro level, but our intention is to move, you know, faster because the problems are increasing day by day. So that is why it is important. We carry out different kinds of advocacy and sensitization in institutions, in communities, you know, among groups, and then at the media level.
So what do you think is the challenge that has been between this?
You see, the people already feel neglected. They feel very, very neglected. And there's this distrust between government and the people. So we are filling in that particular gap. Look, the people no longer trust government. If government say they want to do this, they will just say, oh, we've heard this before. So it is now our responsibility to let them know that, no, this government is serious. And some policy like social programs, for example, we also let them know how to benefit. Because if we do not let them know, sometimes some politicians will hijack the process and make it look as if it's their own personal empowerment. So bringing this chaos in the society. So we carry out this exercise by letting them know the processes of benefiting in social programs. We carry out this exercise by letting them know the government has good plans. It's only taking this period of time for them to execute it, and so on and so forth.
What would you say concerning the policy of subsidy removal in Nigeria, which many have described as one of the worst period in Nigeria history?
Yeah, the policy of subsidy removal was a policy that
the people actually carried along.
Was the policy that was going to come.
Okay.
However, the mismanagement of the policy was that they did not carry out this sensitization advocacy before it was announced. And the actors in the industry took advantage of the announcement and started the implementation almost immediately. So the thing hit to every Nigerian, both the rich and the poor. Because why? There were no mechanism. He didn't prepare the follow-up strategy before making this pronouncement. What they are supposed to do as a government was supposed to plan it. Okay, if we are removing subsidy, what are the cushion effects? What are the things they are supposed to do in order to cushion the implication, the impact that will come after this particular policy? So that wasn't done. So it entered the people's rigorously. And we can also take another example. When the former administration tried to redesign Naira, you can see that Naira redesign was a very beautiful project that the government intended to do by fighting corruption. But unfortunately, the approach was completely wrong because the people were not, it sent people to death. People were hungry. They had money they cannot access.
They were buying their own currency in their own country.
In their own country, they were buying currency. That is the mismanagement of policy. That's the essence of communication.
Are you aware that some policies of government are not public-oriented? Have you been able to find out from this period of time that you've been engaging?
Yes. There are policies that are not people-centered. That's the way we term it.
So how do you carry this type of policy? How do you break the gap with such type of policies?
No, most policies that are not people-centered,
Yeah.
we only carry out by just imparting the knowledge, just for information's sake. But the policy that has to do with the people, we try to make them, okay, this is the policy, and this is the way to benefit from the policy. So there are two approaches we use in such instances. One, this one is not people-centered. So you only need to know, just have the knowledge for your consumption. And when the need arises, you can defend yourself. But the ones that are people-centered are the ones who show you this is the government processes of assessing these social intervention programs.
You are a non-governmental organization. I guess there are some challenges that you've been facing in trying to break or take off this gap between policies of government and the citizen. Let's see how you've been overcoming some of these challenges.
Yes, we encounter challenges, day by day as we carry out our activities. One of the challenges is the government not accepting to work with us. And most often than not, we do not go to the government to ask them for money to implement our project. We go for government to give us the legitimacy to implement our project. Let us, so that it will be aware, the people will be aware that these people are working with government, not against the government. Now, another challenge is having access to funding, because it's been self-funding since we initiate this particular organization. So, but what we do is that we try to look at the global perspective. We look at the development partners' objectives. If it is in line with what we do, we try to approach and see if we can come together and see how we can implement some of all these policies. We work, closely with development partners. We work closely with government agencies. But that rejection from government agencies, that's not comfortable. They think every NGO is coming to fight government. It's completely. But the essence of the NGO that was established during the UN Treaty of 1945 was to complement the effort of government. Where government cannot reach, they believe the people will reach. That is the essence of the NGO. But unfortunately, the way we've been mismanaging issues is what is taking us to this direction. And this is what we at Parker Africa were projecting. Say, look, we need to have a professional body that will begin to regulate the activities of NGOs so that they will understand the essence and the true meaning of NGOs. Not to go and start fighting and causing confusion anywhere. Rather is to look at the loopholes government are not meeting up and then complementing the effort of the government. In the end, the entire society will grow.
I think the Office of the Budget Economic Planning deserve some level of appreciation and recommendation for the effort they have been putting to ensure that NGOs in the country carry out their responsibilities. Now, you talked about having a body to look into the activities of the NGOs in the country. That's a very good one. How close are you in the establishment of this body?
Yeah, we've initiated the process with the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, precisely the Department of International Cooperation, to see how, because they are the one that regulate and satisfy some of the NGOs after register with CAC. So, and the way they accept and own the process is very, very encouraging. So that is the level where we are. So we're asking them to give an aggregate of a number of NGOs that are registered with the ministry, and as well we will also compare with what we have with CAC and see the ones that are active and not active, and we should be able to bring them together to form a form of a federation, to coordinate and to encourage activity, and then give them specific areas of focus in implementing some of their projects, and then guide them carry out training, because some of these NGOs, they will give them funding, they will access funding, but they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to retire them. So they don't even know how to access grants. So it is important that this exercise is done. This body is set up so that we'll be able to manage and coordinate the activities of NGOs.
We look forward to see the establishment of the NGO body in Nigeria to ensure that the duties and functions of NGO are truly carried in line with world standard to enhance government operation and government policies across the country. The program is Midday Discourse. It's coming your way live from Global TV right here in Nigeria's capital city. My guest in the studio, of course, is Mr. Sylvester Nimdi Esom, and he is telling us on how they are working to take away the gap between policies of government and the citizens. And so we are looking. Once again, welcome to the program, Mr. Sylvester.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's look at what percentage will you say you have recorded since inception of PACA in achieving your goal? Where are we now?
Okay, yeah, we have come up with design our project. We've initiated the process of collaboration with agencies of government and private organizations. We are presenting our case based on the need of the people. We don't just initiate project. We look at the need of the people and then before we initiate them. So at the level where we are, apart from the project we've already carried out and implemented, we are at the verge in the year 2024, based on our strategic plan, at the verge of, launching bigger project in the area of transport, because I can give you an example. The insecurity in the country, in the Northeast, have, make Abuja to become overcrowded. And some of all these people migrating to Abuja have never been opportune to see a tar road before, not to talk of a street light, and then talk about the traffic light. So you see people coming and then they give them taxes as empowerment, beating traffic lights, even the rich and the poor, everybody beat traffic lights. So we are working closely with some organizations that are responsible in enforcing the regulations of the traffic policy, to see that this exercise is carried out. And we didn't just intend to end it in Abuja. We want to make it a nationwide project and want to make it a regional project, because sometimes what you see in Nigeria is what you see in our sub-region of West Africa.
Now, let's get to know your activities with the National Assembly, because most of these policies emanate from there. How close have you been working with them to ensure a smooth operation of your activities?
Honestly, we have not approached National Assembly on anything, because the way we understand policy in the papers, the National Assembly only gives legitimacy to the policy. The actual organs of government that implement this policy is the executive. So we deal more with the executive, the ministries, the agencies, and all of that. Because if the policy is enacted, the National Assembly works ends there. They have legitimized what the government intends to do. And then the executive, they want to implement it. So we try to regulate based on the implementation strategy that the executive have put in place. So therefore, we work more with the executive. But notwithstanding, like I said, we've not approached them, but we are already designing projects that will approach National Assembly. So we'll look at it from the national level and holistic level. Right now, we're dealing with projects on the sector level.
Since inception in 2002, right?
Yes.
What would you say has been your main achievement all this while?
Yes, since inception in 2002, we've carried out projects, especially in the transport sector. If you are aware of this group, the KK and Okada riders, we started with them. We've had series of sensitization. We've had series of advocacy. that it's not good to take drugs. It's against the law to be under influence and drive. Because the major challenge we see in terms of road accidents is responsible of Okada and Keke. Because those guys, I'm sorry to say, sometimes they're as if, you know, they don't understand what the rules, anyway, they don't. So they just drive recklessly. So most of our projects we've been carried out with them to ensure that they understand the rules of the game in terms of traffic management. And therefore, they should be able to comply with the regulations. And after that group, we coordinate them, we collected data, because one of the challenges we see in Nigeria is lack of data. And I can tell you this, according to a consultant that once Nigeria hired to come and give us what's called the National Development Plan, Wolfgang Stolper, in his word that you cannot own what you do not control, nor control what you do not own. That a country without adequate data, you cannot plan. So that has been our challenge. The country, Nigeria, we do not have adequate data. Everything, including the population, is speculated. So it becomes very difficult. So when we engage this Keke and Okada, we try to aggregate data to understand the number of people that are operating in each state, to understand how they license to operate. And we are trying to bring them together so that we will be able to control what they do. It also helps in terms of security by the time you have this aggregate data, because you'll be able to know, issue them a biometric ID card that will be able to track their activities anywhere they are. So some of all these things are things we've initiated. We've engaged the DSA, the security agencies, to see how we can come together to work out on this. But unfortunately, the transition of government always put us, 10 steps behind. So that is where we are. On this new administration, we've not pushed further, but we are working closely to see that any intervention that is coming to this sector, because whether we accept it or not, they are the key drivers of the informal economy in the country.
Meet the discourse on Global TV from Nigeria's capital city this beautiful afternoon. My guest has been Mr. Sylvester Nnamdi Esom. He is the Managing Director of PAGA Africa, and we are looking at how to reduce the gap between government policies and the citizen. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll find answers to some questions concerning how to embrace and benefit from government policies. On Global TV, right here in Nigeria's capital city. Please don't go away. Glad to have you back on the program Midday Discourse right here in Nigeria's capital city. It's coming away live from Global TV, and we are looking on how much information is available to the citizen and how do the people fully participate in policies of government. Are the people truly informed about the government policies? A well-informed society, we're told, is a better nation. My guest, who is with me in the studio here, is Mr. Sylvester Nnamdi, of course, Sylvester Nnamdi Esom. He is the Managing Director of PAGA. PAGA is a body responsible to ensuring that these policies move from where they are to meet the people. Now, Mr. Sylvester, let's find out, is it that can the public, can the general people in the society, can they communicate to you to reach the government? Can you be such a...
Absolutely. You know, we are unfolding our strategy based on the strategic plan, based on various components, right? So the component we are now is to first create this awareness. And then the second component will begin to receive some of all this information to be able to influence the decision of government in terms of policy formulation. So there's a component for it. But first, we need to find our stronghold, our footing, and then have a ground in this government, and then begin to make input into what is coming next in terms of policies of government. So basically, there are plans for it, but the implementation will come based on various components that we have been able to put in place.
I look at some of your information shows that you also intend to serve as advisory organization to all citizens as well as residents in any locality of the country. Nigeria is such a big country, and you intend, can you truly cover Nigeria?
Yes, we can cover Nigeria. In fact, we can cover the entire Africa. That is why we are Parker Africa. Because our strategies are very plain. We are not here to take somebody's job. We are not here to take somebody else's responsibility. Like I told you earlier, we are here to complement the effort of the institution responsible in doing this assignment. For example, the National Orientation Agency are responsible to carry out this assignment we are talking about right now.
Yeah.
But one, you need to look at the distrust of the people if you come to do government agency.
You think Nigerians are falling apart with government policies?
Absolutely. They are not falling apart with government policy, but they are falling apart. They don't trust government.
They don't believe what government is doing?
Yes.
Or what government is saying?
Exactly. They don't believe what government is doing, and they don't trust the process of what government is doing.
So now that government is saying there is food available in the country, people think there is no food?
And they are not seeing it. Well, it's the same thing. You say there's food. Yes. It's a statement of government. It's a policy statement. Now, in practical terms, is there food?
So how do you force the people to believe there is food when there's no food?
Good.
Are you doing that?
Good. What we do, we don't force people. What we do, when government make a policy statement, such as there's food in the country, we do our research. That's how the company of policy research is the first on our agenda. We do the research to see that actually there are food in the country. If it is confirmed by all that there are food in the country, we will then ask, how do you intend to distribute this food? Now the government should be able to give us a strategy of how they intend to distribute this food. It is those information I will take to the people. Look, there's food. And this is the way, the steps to take to be able to access this food the government has provided. So, like I said, we are complementing the effort of government. Because if we do not let them know the steps and to let them also know that there's available food in the country, the politicians that are greedy will hijack it and make it look as if they are the one empowering the people or giving the people those incentives.
Now, let's look at across the country, there's this belief that palliative is currently going on, and you are supposed to be in between government and the people. What would you say if you have not experienced this palliative? Will you go ahead and force your people to believe, and they are saying they have not seen it?
Like I said, we don't force people. We only communicate information. Okay. And with the information we communicate out there as the information at our disposal. And if we've confirmed through our research and confirm that there's food, we will tell them there's food. If we confirm that there's no food, but the government is making the effort to bring food, we'll wait until we see the food before we communicate this information. We don't force people to believe what it is we've not confirmed yet. Until we confirm, yes, there's available food. Yes, this is the process to be able to access this food. Therefore, we can now go further to let the people. There's food, though, and it's taught in so and so location. This is what you need to do to be able to access the food. So that there will be orderliness. There will not be chaos. Because if you tell people there's food somewhere, without a process, they will break the plate because there's hunger. The only thing that is beginning to unite Nigeria right now is hunger.
Midday Discourse right here on Global TV. Of course, we are looking at how to truly believe what government is saying. And to do this, the body Parker Africa is responsible to let the people know. But, Mr. Sylvester, where do the people really felt government has failed them to believe in them?
It's over time. It didn't just start today. It's over time. Various governments have come and gone. And one of the key areas that everybody's been pounding on is the area of corruption. So government will come, promise heaven and earth. In the end, the people don't see those promises coming to reality. So it's a pattern. So when a pattern is a particular, there's a saying that when an abomination is practiced from generation to generation, it becomes a culture. So this is a pattern that the people have experienced with government. They say what they don't do. So they are beginning to lose truth, no matter what the new government is coming to tell them. They don't believe it because there's already a pattern of government approach, which they say what they don't implement.
Can the people have a rethink of their position with government?
They can only have a rethink when they have a new direction of government.
Is the government not heading towards a new direction?
This current government, I will tell you to be very honest. Particularly, I'm a policy expert by profession. So when government is rolling out policy, I understand the intent of government even before the policy is being implemented. Now, I will tell you for free that this government, from the foregoing, the intent in bringing the country in the right path of direction of development is very good. But however, it is the implementation that has always been our major challenge. We want to see how they will move those intentions, those ideas, those strategies, those policies of government into the full actualization of what the people will say, yes, we now have a government.
How close are we to that?
Well, I will only tell you from a professional point of view that I'm a practical person. I will tell you that we are very, very close. Very, very close. Because there are indicators. There are, various equations that the government have adopted into this variable of making Nigeria a greater nation. Now, this particular government is coming with a different strategy. If you notice, they are not focused on one area. In the last 3 weeks, they are focused on food, security. Now,
should the people believe?
Yes, they have to believe. Because let me tell you.
Is the food there? Have you seen it?
No, you can't plant today and harvest today.
Okay, so there will be food.
There will be food.
So they should go back and plant.
The government have planted.
Okay, the government has planted.
The government has planted through various policies and strategy.
Okay.
Now there's a season for harvest. So what the government should be telling the people right now is that, please, these things you are complaining about, just give us X number of time. In this time, the harvest, the seed we sow will mature and we begin to harvest. And then therefore, we know Nigeria, we will all forget all the suffering. But the truth is, the government is in the right direction and they are working day and night, to the best of my knowledge, to ensure that basic things first are addressed, like food, transportation, security, etc., are addressed. And then after that, we'll now move into other sectors.
There is hope in Nigeria that very soon the issue of food will be a thing of the past. Choice words of my guests in the studio. You're talking about the managing director of Parker Africa, the organization that is moving to close the gap between policies that are being emanated from government and how they can have positive impact with the people. Now, let's look at some of these responsibilities that your body is championing in Nigeria. When these policies are produced or made known by government agencies, how do you assess some of this information from the agencies you've been working with them? Do you bribe your way?
we don't bribe.
You don't even have the money?
It's because, not that we don't have the money, we don't bribe.
Okay.
Because like I said earlier, what we do is to complement the effort of what government are doing or are supposed to do.
Without even knowing what they're doing?
No,
how do you get informed of some of the activities so that you can key into it?
No, we have resources everywhere. We have, when I mean human resources everywhere, in government, in private sector, in various organizations. So what we do is that whenever there's a new role of agenda or policy, we'll get it, analyze it.
What did your organization did, especially on May 29, when His Excellency the President announced the subsidy removal? On that day, what was the organization doing?
No, we were analyzing the speech, his opening speech.
Okay.
Because
should we still wait for the analysis?
No. You asked me what we were doing that day. So we're analyzing the opening speech of the president.
Yeah.
Because it is from the opening speech you will know the direction of the government. So it is from that opening speech we'll be able to analyze and say that, okay, the government is going to the right direction. After which they roll out their 8-point agenda. And we've also analyzed those 8-point agenda. But the only thing we fault government in the 8-point agenda, they do not tell us the how. They only say we are going to, reduce unemployment to X number. But it didn't tell us how. Because we need to know the how, to be able to let the people know that this is how government intend to reduce unemployment.
Do you know the direction where this government is heading to?
I can tell you from a personal point of view that the government is taking us back to our development track because we've missed our way. We've had what we call stunted growth. So the government is repositioning us to follow the path. Because if you look at our contemporaries, the Singapore, the Brazils, the Malaysias, so the government is bringing us back to follow the path of growth, the path of development, because our growth over time, because of the confusion of oil, have been stunted.
Midday discourse here, of course, the managing director of PAGA in the office, telling us he truly knows where the government of the day is heading to, and he believes that there is hope in Nigeria. So we wait to see, because we also truly believe that there is hope in all we do as a nation. Finally, let's look at your activities as far as the stability and the organization of a body responsible to get all our NGOs on board. Do we have some NGOs that truly need help?
Absolutely. We have a lot of NGOs in Nigeria that truly need help. Because, like I mentioned earlier, the essence of the NGO by the UN in 1945 was to help to complement the effort of government and to ensure that where government cannot reach, this organization reach there to be able to impact on the people.
So you're not competing with government?
No, we're not competing. The essence is not to compete with government.
You're not challenging government?
It's not to challenge government. But it's to hold government accountable on the other hand. Because they will be the one to speak on behalf of the people, because they are the one relating directly with the people. So basically, this body, it's important right now because people now have the notion that setting up an NGO is a way of making quick money because they will have access to grants that they don't implement. So we need to bring them to the part of where NGO is supposed to function. So this regulatory body or a unit that coordinate the activities of NGO will help carry out serious activities such as training.
Do you think NGOs can truly help Nigeria very well?
NGOs are already helping. If in the case of the Northeast, if not for NGOs, if not for development partners and international organizations, that place would have been a disaster. But the essence of NGOs, they are intervening in women, in domestic violence, so many areas, has helped to give these people more sense of living.
More sense of living, choice words of my guest here on the program Midday Discourse right on Global TV, Mr. Sylvester Namdi Esom. I want to say a very big thank you to you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We do hope that when next we knock on your door, you'll be available.
I will be available, but next time we'll begin to pick specific policy to be able to analyze and let the Nigerians know how they can benefit from that. Thank you.
How they can benefit from the policies. Of course, we've been talking to the managing director of PAGA, a body responsible to ensure that they take off the gap between government policies and the citizenry. That's the size of today's edition of the program, Meet the Discourse on Global TV. It came your way live and direct from Nigeria's capital city. My name is Agbo Clinton, and you'll join us tomorrow for another fresh edition of the program, Meet the Discourse. Until then, I need to say a special thank you to all the team of the production side as well as my guests on the program. Do have your best of that moment, and see you tomorrow for another fresh edition. Bye.